The Center, with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Shout out to our wonderful producer, Cindy Ashby. You can check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at On the Wake Up Radio. If you all can hear me, in the chat. So tonight, first of all, let me greet everybody. BB Fode and Straight Black Pride to Sister Nina. BB Fode to Brother You Got Ripped Off. BB Fode to Sister Najee. BB Fode Straight Black Pride to Brother Elijah. BB Fode Straight Black Pride to Straight Black Saw. And a BB Fode Straight Black Pride to Sister Farnessa. So hopefully we get some more people coming in. I know because it's Monday, some people that's busy doing some other things. BB Fode to 777-9311. I started to do this yesterday, this show, but I hadn't found the angle I was looking for to make it relevant to you all and myself. And then as I just went through some articles and played some YouTube videos ad nauseum, I finally stumbled upon something to make this relevant. So you know me. I don't generally like talking about what everybody's talking about. I certainly don't like talking about it before I really know what's going on. I don't like to be first. I like to be right. And I don't really like talking about celebrity stuff. So that made this story unappealing at first. But then when I thought about it and I looked into it, it kind of covers the stuff that we find relevant. BB Fode to Raw Ito Baita, which is protection of our women and children. So, and of course, the hats. And so when I started looking, and I was talking, Brother You Got Ripped Off, I saw something. I told him, I was like, man, you won't believe this. Check this out. And so that's why we're doing tonight's show. So, of course, tonight we're talking about Sean Combs, the Sean Combs investigation, and the connections between Sean Combs, not a tangential, like 3 degrees of separation, like direct connection between Sean Combs and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, when I did the discussion on Jeffrey Epstein and what Cat Williams was talking about at the beginning of the year, I don't know how many of you all remember that. And I won't be doing any video tonight because I had a video demonetized for like 13 seconds of content when I did the one dealing with the pedo -FILES. Peace and blessings to Brother Crow. When I did that, that's been demonetized, so I had to go back and take some of that video out. The video, the clip was where what's his name? With Bang Booty and the brother from Zulu Nation, Ron Savage. So I got that message today. I was like, oh, okay. So I won't be doing any video. We'll be doing all audio. And we're going to talk about these charges and a pattern with Mr. Combs. And like I said, I don't know if anybody remembers, and make sure y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I said then, or at least in a previous show, that Mr. Combs appeared to be, according to some people, running a honey trap operation akin to what Mr. Epstein is running. In fact, no, yeah, I said that. Yeah, I said that during the File show. And so now I see more and more people saying that. So what we're going to do is we're going to read the first article outlining the raid and the charges. Then we're going to go here, look at this definition of human trafficking, because the definition of that is real murky and blurry. And I think it's done that way on purpose, to be honest. And generally, once it gets to the point where especially the government is looking for stuff like that, if they want to take you down, they're going to throw some RICO charges on top of it. And then pretty much you're either A, going to jail 20 plus years, or B, you're going to roll over on somebody bigger than you. It's pretty much how it works. And then, in between, I get some speculation and so forth, so on. So, bro, you got ripped off. Remind me at 9:10 to take a break and make some announcements, because I do have some announcements that I do want to get into, and hopefully I remember them, because y'all know how I get. So let us get started with the discussion. First things first. Now we have Mr. Combs. Now, Mr. Combs has been, if you are over 40, then Mr. Combs has been famous the vast majority of your life, and you probably have enjoyed some of his music at some point in your life. Now, when I first became aware of his music, I had a brother I knew who was he was a street team for a record label, part of the street team for a record label, and he gave this promo of it was like a Big Mac box, and it said, and the tape inside, the cassette tape, that's how far back it goes, it said Craig Mack on one side and Big on the other. So I had Juicy on the back side and had Flavor in Year on the front side. And I remember it because I remember listening to it. I remember playing it for my girl at the time. I asked her which one she liked. And she said she liked Flavor in Year. And I was like, all right, cool. Because that's the one I like too. I'm like, yeah, this dude nicer than the other dude. Now, part of that was I was biased because my homeboy at the time, he had did a rhyme over that M2 beat, which is the beat for Juicy, right? So I was biased to my boy because he was my rhyme partner when I used to rhyme. We were a duo. One day I'll tell y'all the name of that group. It's funny now that I think about it. You could not run around calling yourself that in post 9/11 work. So that's where I first remember running into Sean Combs' music. But before that, I was aware of him because I used to read the Source magazine, but I wasn't paying attention. So I believe the brother Crow said when he was working at Uptown with Andre Harrell, I had heard of him, but I wasn't paying him any attention because that's the pre-internet days. If you wasn't reading the Source and the other rap magazines, and the person wasn't in there, and you weren't in New York, then you didn't, or LA, because once West Coast hip hop started blowing up, then you didn't know. So that's my background of where I first encountered Sean Combs' music. So let's get into this article. It says this is from CNN, says a closer look at the misconduct lawsuits against Sean Diddy Combs. Of course, that is a picture of the raid. When they show up at your door like that, they mean business. Now it says, even before law enforcement raided his homes, the rapper, this guy's not a rapper, but anyway, the rapper, producer, and businessman Sean Diddy, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy Combs faced a host of legal issues. Since November, he has faced 5 separate civil lawsuits accusing him of a range of misconduct and other illegal activities. One of these cases has already been settled, but the others remain active. Several of the lawsuits alleged misconduct Several of the lawsuits alleged misconduct was captured on video. You ain't lying about that part. In addition, some were filed under the New York Adult Survivors Act, which created a 1-year window for adult victims to file a lawsuit against their alleged abusers and the institutions that enabled them, regardless of statute of limitations. This 1-year window ended November 24th, 2023. Now, let me stop right there. For those who have been listening to us for a few years, we know that window, that law opened up a window, and there was a lawsuit recently about a year ago, opened up against Greek Bank Booty. So that's when I became aware of the law. In that case, where the statute of limitations, I believe, had lapsed, but that opened it up for further adjudication. So if anybody that's new here, that they don't know, when it comes to dealing with abuse of our children, especially, and abuse of our people, especially our women, it's something that we've been on and we've been attacking. So, Brother H.A. Jeannie Straight Black Pride, since Straight Black Pride's founding, it's been Jeannie's mission to end the abuse and exploitation of our children since he was a teenager. So, and when he really opened my eyes to how rampant it was, because I was kind of aware, then it became a passion of mine. And when I saw how some of what we were doing was able to heal some sisters, it made me understand that was worthwhile. Unfortunately, to really deal with the situation, we're going to need more brothers of courage, and you're probably going to have to do things that fall outside of the scope of the law. Just being completely honest, you know what I'm saying? That's where we're at. Now, back to the article. Authorities searched Diddy's homes on Monday week. I guess this was has this been 2 weeks ago now, or last Monday? Anyway, because he's a target of a federal investigation carried out by the Department of Homeland Security team that handles human trafficking crimes, according to a senior federal law enforcement official briefed on the investigation. The investigation stems from many of the same assault allegations put forth in the civil lawsuits, according to a second law enforcement official familiar with Monday's searches. The music mogul's attorney, Aaron Dyer, issued a statement Tuesday calling the search a gross overuse of military level force. This unprecedented ambush, paired with an advanced coordinated media presence, leads to a premature rush to judgment of Mr. Combs and is nothing more than a witch hunt based on meritless accusations made in civil lawsuits. He said, that's quote unquote. There has been no finding of criminal or civil liability with any of these allegations. Mr. Combs is innocent and will continue to fight every single day to clear his name, quote unquote. Now let's stop right there. We will be saying allegedly, before they straight black pride to Brother Kevin, we will be saying allegedly throughout this discussion, because none of these cases have been adjudicated, and one case has been settled out of court, I'm sure, with an NDA, and I'm sure that Miss Ventura was well compensated for her cooperation in the settling of that case. So we're not going to, everything is alleged. We will be doing some speculation. We also will be doing some connecting of some dots. And those dots will be backed up with verifiable, documented information, right? We're not just going to be pulling things out of whole cloth. So just wanted to say that. Now, the first case, Ventura v. Combs. This is a picture of Sandra Ventura, who was a former girlfriend of Mr. Diddy and accused him of sexual violation and abuse. Now, when we get to this, when we read this, now my bad. Let's just get to it. The basics. Cassandra Ventura, the R&B singer known as Cassie, who previously dated Mr. Combs, filed a federal lawsuit in the Southern District of New York on November 16, 2023, against Diddy and the companies Bad Boy Records, Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, Epic Records, and Doe Corp. 1-10. The allegations. Ventura alleged she was violated and subjected to years of violent abuse by Mr. Diddy. The lawsuit specifically accuses him of trafficking, human trafficking, assault and battery, gender-motivated violence, harassment, gender description, and hostile work environment. Diddy's response, attorney Ben Rothman, we don't know, have to ask where he comes from, said in a statement emailed to CNN via Diddy's publicist, Mr. Combs vehemently denies these offensive and outrageous allegations. Statement continued. For the past 6 months, Mr. Combs has been subject to Ms. Ventura's persistent demand of $13 million under the threat of writing a damaging book about their relationship, which was unequivocally rejected as blatant blackmail. Despite withdrawing her initial threat, Ms. Ventura has now resorted to filing a lawsuit riddled with baseless and outrageous lies aimed to tarnish Mr. Combs' reputation and seeking a payday. Let's stop right here. Mr. Combs and Miss Ventura dated for a while, right? I would assume, since he is very well financed, that he kept her. He took care of her financially during that period of time. Now, we can make the argument that he did not take care of her very well as far as her career goes, because her career didn't really go anywhere. And because of the connections that Mr. Combs has, he can really kind of at least make you a minimal star out of anyone if he so desired, right? So the idea that she was only after money, I'm sure there was some money involved, but I just tend to think that that's not the only thing at issue here. Now, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not sure. Because I'll be honest, I barely remember Cassie. That's no disrespect to the young lady. But wasn't she like 18 or 19 when they started dating, and he was well into his 30s? If anybody wants to correct me on that, please do. I'm not 100% sure of that. So that right there is interesting. Says where the case stands, the lawsuit was settled amicably just a day afterwards. Both sides said the decision to settle a lawsuit, especially in 2023, is in no way an admission of wrongdoing, Mr. Brofman said. Okay. The next case, Dickerson Neal versus Combs. The basics. Joy Dickerson Neal filed a lawsuit in New York Supreme Court on November 23rd against Diddy, Bad Boy Entertainment, doing business as Bad Boy Records, and Combs Enterprises. Now, this says the allegations: Dickerson Neal accused Diddy of drugging and assaulting her in 1991 when she was a Syracuse University student who had appeared with Combs in a music video. She also alleges that she was a victim of revenge filing, saying he filmed the assault and showed it to others. Now, let's stop right here. This is 30 years ago. The thing about this is, as we'll see with, I think it is another case from around the same time frame. The thing about this is that this starts to show a pattern of behavior going all the way back to Straight Black. So I said, I believe the same age span, but oh yeah, we're gonna get to Sean Carter. We're gonna get a little into Sean Carter. Right. Just remind me if I just sway, don't get to it. Just be like, hey, what happened to the Sean Carter thing? Yeah, we're gonna get there. So the spokesperson for Diddy said the allegations are made up and not credible, adding that the move is a pure money grab. Now, who's to say? More than likely, this person. Hey, wait, hold on. Ain't no more than likely. This spokesperson, the chances are 95% that they didn't even know Mr. Combs at this time. So, who are they to say? But anyway, the last-minute lawsuit is an example of how well-intentioned law can be turned on its head. The spokesman said, Mr. Combs never assaulted her, and she implicates companies that did not exist. The defendant's response is due in 11 days. So that sounds like when you're a lawyer and someone else's lawyer hasn't done a proper filing, and you use that as a defense, as if that actually deals with the crime that you have been accused of. That's what that sounds like to me. Okay, maybe in 1991. Okay, Bad Boy Records did not exist at that time. Does that mean that this accusation is false? I mean, no, it does not. But we'll wait for that to be adjudicated. Now, here we go. Oh, wait a minute. I went past it. My bad. Gardner versus Combs. The basics. In a lawsuit filed in New York Supreme Court on November 23rd and in an amended complaint on March 12th, Liza Gardner sued Diddy, Aaron Hall, MCA Records, MCA Music Entertainment Group, Geffen Records, Universal Music Group, NV, John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10, and ABC Corp's 1 through 10. The allegations. Gardner accused Combs and Aaron Hall, a member of the R&B group Guy, of battery and assault in 1990 when she was 16 years old. She alleges that after they gave her alcoholic drinks, Diddy forced her into engaging in unwanted intimate activities, and Hall pinned her down and forced her to engage such activities. The next day, Diddy assaulted her and choked her until she passed out, the lawsuit states. Diddy's response. In December, Diddy posted on Instagram denying the claims. Enough is enough. For the last couple of weeks, I have sat silently and watched people try to assassinate my character, destroy my reputation, and my legacy, he said. Sickening allegations have been made against me by individuals looking for a quick payday. Let me be absolutely clear. I did not do any of the awful things being alleged, and I will fight for my name, my family, and for the truth. CNN reached out to Hall for comment. He has not yet publicly spoken about the allegations. Defendant's response to this complaint is not yet due. Now let's stop right here. And I'm thinking about turning the music off. So Aaron Hall and Mr. Combs all have been accused of an assault. I believe the year was 1991. Again. Now, I'm going to just be completely honest. If there's one person that you don't want to be standing next to, be before they straight black pride to Brother Eshu Ogun. Well, there's two people you don't want to be standing next to when a woman accuses you of assault. The first one is R. Kelly. The second one is Aaron Hall, who in a weird way is the spiritual father of R. Kelly. And y'all gonna be like, bro, what are you talking about? Unfortunately, I can't play music here, but I am gonna go through some lyrics. But for those who don't remember, Aaron Hall was a member of God. God consisted of Aaron Hall, lead singer, and what's the producer's name that invented New Jack Swing? Y'all help me out. I can't think of his name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. And another brother. Now, back in the day, Guy was like really big on the R&B scene, and they helped introduce New Jack Swing, which is a new style of music. Teddy Riley, thank you, brother. I'm struggling here with names. And so when Aaron Hall came out, they had a song, Groove Me, and they had some other songs, and they were big for a while, right? And they broke up, went their separate ways, so forth, so on. Yeah, Teddy's Jam, all that stuff. Now, Aaron Hall, excuse me. One of the things Aaron Hall is known for is he got Gloria Velez pregnant when she was underage. He will admit that. You can find the videos, right? So Aaron Hall is at least, at minimum, an unwitting pedophile. Okay, that's a minimum, right? Secondly, this is what's so weird. It's so weird, and I want y'all to think about this now. Even if you got to go play some of the music and stuff. When R. Kelly came out, when Robert Kelly came out with R. Kelly and the public announcement, right? He sounded like Aaron Hall. Like he sounded like a clone of the man, right? And the weird part is that R. Kelly would be known for the things that Aaron Hall had been accused of and taking it way further to the extreme. So, again, this case said that accused Diddy of Aaron Hall of assaulting this woman. Sometimes people kind of tell you what their mentality is in their music. So we're going to read the lyrics to one of Aaron Hall's songs, right? And then I'll get back to, because I forgot to go through the difference between human trafficking and sex trafficking. All right, this is Aaron Hall's song, Don't Be Afraid. I looked up the lyrics, and it starts off kind of simple, and you're like, all right, there's nothing wrong with this. It says, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray my Lord the soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray my Lord my soul to take, right? Then he said, you'll be saying daddy to me. Boy, please don't hurt me. Right? Now, it says, this is my first experience, baby. Make it feel all right. Don't worry, baby. Now, let's stop right here. Aaron Hall, when he wrote this, was a grown man. And he's talking about a grown man interacting with a woman who's their first experience. Now, if this was written today, that girl probably 15 years old. But in this time, that girl was probably 17 years old. Yeah, okay. You like, all right, bro, but that don't really mean nothing. Cool. Let's go further into the lyrics. Now, and then the song goes to say, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Okay. Which in itself, just the title, don't be afraid, it's kind of weird. I'm just saying. Now, we already saw the daddy thing, right? That's kind of, pedo-ish, right? Now, he says, when I lay you down tonight and I squeeze and hold you tight, everything will be all right. Don't be afraid, baby. Right? Then he says, when you start to scratch and moan, your problems will be long gone. Let it happen right now. Don't be afraid, girl. You're like, okay, some risque lyrics for the 90s, but it's not horrible. You're like, bro, what are you talking about? Now, check this out. It says, now I have you all to myself. You can put all the other guys on the shelf. No need to run and no need to hide. All the doors are locked, baby, and I have you inside. You can yell and you can hit me. It just makes me horny. Ain't nothing but a love thing, baby, between you and me. Now hold up. Wait a minute. Am I tripping? Let's read this again. Now I have you all to myself. You can put all the other guys on the shelf. No need to run and no need to hide. All the doors are locked, and baby, I have you inside. I mean, this sounds like a Jeffrey Dahmer song or something. Before they straight black pride to Destiny Sankara. Now, y'all tell me, am I tripping, or does this sound like an ongoing assault? The doors are locked. You can yell and you can hit me, but it don't matter because that just makes me more excited. Now, mind you, the person that wrote these lyrics has been accused of assaulting a woman in 1991 along with Sean Combs. All I'm saying is, if there's one person that you didn't want to be standing next to when somebody was accused of assault, if it wasn't Robert, it was this guy. You see what I'm saying? So, and it's a thing. People have known about this for a long time because I remember, now I was still in high school. My brother, the one that said was my rapping partner and the one that had brought me into the knowledge, he was the first one to mention it. He was like, yeah, man, this song was kind of weird. Have you listened to the lyrics? And I'll be honest, I hadn't, because I wasn't really in the R&B, so I hadn't paid attention. He was like, nah. He was like, check it out. And I can't remember. I don't know if he had the tape, but some type of way. Anyway, I ended up checking it out, and I was like, yo, what the? So, all I'm saying is, Sean Combs has been accused of doing something unsavory with this guy who has a song that literally sounds like he's doing something unsavory. I'm not saying that makes you guilty. I'm just saying that makes you look guilty. That's all I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is somebody's lawyer is going to be bringing that song in here and playing it and then pointing at them to and be like, is there any explanation for what you just heard? That's all I'm saying, right? So, again, I'm just going to read that last part and then we're going to move on. Now I have you all to myself. You can put all the other guys on this shelf. No need to run, no need to hide. All the doors are locked, baby, and I have you inside. You can yell and you can hit me. It just makes me horny. Like, and that stuff was getting played on the radio. I'm just looking to see if there's any other lyrics in here. I think that kind of really just that covers it. Okay. So that is lawsuit number 3. And then I believe this is number 4. An anonymous woman using the name Jane Doe filed a federal lawsuit in the Southern District of New York on December 6th against Diddy, Harve Pierre, an unnamed third assailant, Daddy's House Recordings, and Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings, Inc. Doe filed an amendment complaint on March 29th. Doe accused Diddy, Pierre, and a third person of trafficking and mass violation in 2003 when she was 17 years old. Okay. In court filings, Diddy formally denied the allegations and told the court the lawsuit should be dismissed because the woman's decision to wait more than 2 decades to file her complaint has prejudiced him because he has lost the ability to defend himself fully and fairly. He also argued the evidence may now be unavailable, lost, or compromised, and that witness identification, availability, and recollections are likely to be compromised due to a substantial passage of time. Pierre, the former president of Bad Boy Records, filed a 15-page response asking the court to dismiss the complaint. He said he never participated in the sexual assault of the plaintiff, nor did he ever witness anyone else assaulting the plaintiff. Daddy's House Recordings Incorporated and Bad Boy Entertainment Holdings have also filed motions asking the court to dismiss the case. I'm just gonna say this. This is a very heinous, disgusting accusation, and if any evidence is brought forth to corroborate what is being accused, I can't even speak to what should be done to them. Only those of you who really know me, like who really know me, know what I really think should happen. The type of unspeakable acts of terror that should be rained upon anyone who engaged in a group violation of one of our women. That's all I can say publicly. I just, the mere thought of it makes me want to throw up and makes me want to, go all Bumpy Johnson on somebody. You know what I'm saying? So, the next one, it just keeps getting worse. Little Rod versus Mr. Combs. Rodney Jones, a music producer and videographer who went by Little Rod, filed a federal lawsuit in the Southern District of New York on February 26 against Diddy and a number of other defendants. The suit was refiled March 4th and proposed amendment complaints were filed March 25th and March 27th. The lawsuit specifically accuses Diddy of racketeering, sexual assault, sex trafficking in 2022-2023 as Jones worked on Diddy's most recent album, Love, quote unquote. Jones also alleges Combs did not compensate him for music producing work. I believe that part. You got a history of ripping people off. But anyway, in addition, the lawsuit accuses Cuba Gooding Jr. of assault and makes reference to several other celebrities by name and by description. Diddy's response: Diddy's attorney denied the allegation and called Jones' claims lies. His reckless name dropping about events that are pure fiction and simply did not happen is nothing more than a transparent attempt to garner headlines. We have overwhelming and indisputable proof that his claims are complete lies, attorney Sean Hawley said. An attorney for Gooding has not responded to CNN's request. Where the case stands, some of the defendants have moved to dismiss the case, and the deadline to respond to the allegations had not yet arrived. Now, Little Rod accused, and I've seen some pictures of them together, and pictures they don't look good. Like kind of weird looking, kind of Cuba Goodings in the man's personal space. I don't know. I kind of knew something was wrong with Cuba Gooding for a while, but man, all I can say is, you know what? I forgot, because Cuba Gooding Jr., he's been accused of multiple of these type of situations. Literally, probably the fifth person that you don't want to be standing next to when these types of things are being accused is Cuba Gooding Jr. So one thing I'm gonna say about Mr. Combs is He's standing next. He's in some horrible company. Second thing I'm saying is, where there's smoke, you know the rest. Now, let's think about this. Mr. Combs has been accused of assaulting underage girls, engaging in gang violation of women, facilitating assault of a man by another man. And that's just in these lawsuits. This is not dealing with any type of speculation outside of that. I'm just saying it's not looking too good. In addition to that, we know that Mr. Combs' spiritual advisor, T.D. Jakes, has shown some very peculiar behavior and has been accused of engaging in lascivious activity himself. And if I had to bet $5 on whether or not Mr. Jakes, who has been at Mr. Combs' residence during these parties, if I had to bet $5 that Mr. Jakes engaged in some activity that was unbecoming of a reverend, I am definitely putting my $5 on Mr. Jakes engaging in activity that's becoming of a reverend. Sister Najee said, "What? This is so crazy." Hold up. Hold up. What you just posted, Mr. Sister Najee says Cuba Gooding Jr. was taped with a chicken bucket on his head, sweating, saying, "Somebody blank that baby." Wow, I don't even know what to do with that. I can't even process that information. And brother, you got ripped off. So the $2 super chat. He says the super chat is open. A BB448. Appreciate that, brother. And if you all do not feel the need to super chat, the Cashapp is always open as well. Now, let us, because one of the charges, that Mr. Combs has been dealing with is dealing with human trafficking. So I want to get definitions, because the definition of these terms, they almost kind of overlap and they're kind of blurry. So I want to get the direct definitions according to the United States Department of Justice. So let us read. It says, understanding human trafficking. It says trafficking in persons and human trafficking are umbrella terms often used interchangeably to refer to a crime whereby traffickers exploit and profit at the expense of adults or children by compelling them to perform labor or engage in commercial sex. When a person younger than 18 is used to perform a commercial intimate act, it is a crime regardless of whether or not there's any force, fraud, coercion involved. All right, let's stop right there. Let's read again. When a person younger than 18 is used to perform, in other words, to do something intimate for money, it is a crime. Period. Regardless of force, fraud, or coercion involved. The United States recognizes two primary forms of trafficking in persons. One, forced labor. Two, intimate trafficking. The basic meaning of these forms of human trafficking and some unique characteristics of each are set forth below, followed by several key principles and concepts that relate to all forms of human trafficking. Let us continue to read. More than 180 nations have ratified and acceded to the UN protocols to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, UNTIP protocol, which defines trafficking in persons and contains obligations to prevent and combat the crime. The United States TVPA and the UNTIP protocol contain similar definitions of human trafficking. The elements of both definitions can be described using a 3-element framework focused on the trafficker. 1, acts. 2, means. 3, purpose. All 3 elements are essential to form of human trafficking violation. Let's stop right here. it sounds good in theory that the United Nations is engaged in a coordinated effort with the United States to stop human trafficking. The fundamental problem with that is the United States open border policy literally helps to fund human trafficking from Mexico and places south into the United States. So actually trying to stop human trafficking and maintain open border policy are a contradiction in terms. I just wanted to point that out. So Mr. Biden cannot be serious about stopping human trafficking and have an open border policy. That's a contradiction. Let us get back to the definitions. It says forced labor. Forced labor, sometimes also referred to as labor trafficking, encompasses the range of activities involved when a person uses force, fraud, or coercion to exploit the labor of or services of another person. The acts element of forced labor is met with the trafficker recruits, harbors, transports, provides, or obtains a person for labor services. The means element of forced labor includes a trafficker's use of force, fraud, or coercion. The coercive scheme can include threats of force, debt manipulation, withholding of pay, confiscation of identity documents, psychological coercion, reputational harm, manipulation of the use of addictive substances, threats to other people, and other forms of coercion. The purpose element focuses on the perpetrator's goal to exploit a person's labor or services. There is no limit on the location or type of industry. Traffickers can commit this crime in any sector or setting, whether it's legal or illicit, including but not limited to agricultural fields, factories, restaurants, hotels, massage parlors, retail stores, fishing vessels, mines, private homes, or drug trafficking operations. All three elements are essential to constitute a crime of forced labor. There are certain types of forced labor that are frequently distinguished for emphasis or because they are more widespread. Those below would include domestic servitude, is a form of forced labor in which the trafficker requires a victim to perform work in a private residence. Such circumstances create unique vulnerabilities. Domestic workers are often isolated and may work alone in a house. Their employer often controls their access to food, transportation, and housing. What happens in a private residence is hidden from the world, including from law enforcement and labor inspectors, resulting in barriers to victim identification. Foreign domestic workers are particularly vulnerable to abuse due to language and cultural barriers, as well as a lack of community ties. Some perpetrators use these types of conditions as part of their coercive schemes to compel the labor of domestic workers with little risk of detection. Now, let me stop right here. Here's the thing about this, right? Black people have been victims of forced labor, domestic servitude since we've been here. And let me read. Got another super chat, Brother Crow. Says Puff is very good friends with Clive Davis, so that tells you what kind of people he likes to hang out with. Indeed, brother, and we will get there. I know we're getting there slowly, but we will get there. But thank you for that reminder, because again, we discussed that in a previous show. For those who don't know about Clive Davis, I showed in a previous show that Clive Davis has come out of the closet and has said openly and vociferously that he is a bisexual. That's how he described himself. Right now, forced child labor. Now, this is just despicable. The term forced child labor describes forced labor schemes in which traffickers compel children to work. Traffickers often target children because they are more vulnerable. Although some children may legally engage in certain forms of work, forcing or coercing children to work remains illegal. Forms of slavery or slavery-like practices, including the sale of children, forced or compulsory child labor, and debt bondage and serfdom of children continue to exist despite legal prohibitions and widespread condemnation. Some indicators of forced labor of a child include situations in which the child appears to be in the custody of a non-family member and the child's work financially benefits someone outside of the child's family, or the denial of food, rest, or schooling to a child who is working. Now, I'm just going to say that's just Can we be honest here? I don't know if I can say this. It's probably gonna get me. This is probably gonna get me. Demonetized. You dealing with forced child labor. I'm just gonna quote the Bible. Such person should be beaten with many stripes. That's a biblical quote. I'm not. That's all I'm saying. Now, the next despicable act here is sex trafficking. Sex trafficking encompasses the range of activities when a trafficker uses force, fraud, or coercion to compel another person to engage in commercial acts or causes a child to engage in commercial acts. The crime of sex trafficking is also understood through the acts, means, and purpose framework. All three elements are required to establish a sex trafficking crime, except in the case of child sex trafficking, where the means are irrelevant. The acts element of sex trafficking is met when a trafficker recruits, harbors, transports, provides, obtains, patronizes, or solicits another person to engage in commercial sex. Now let's stop right here, because I've read this. There's a word here that I think I just went right past, and I haven't really focused on. The trafficker recruits, harbors, transports, provides, or obtains. The person that patronizes is not the trafficker, but apparently, unless I'm reading this wrong legally, and if we have any legal experts, please correct me, it would appear that the person who patronizes is also covered underneath this law. So that's good to know. For those who may be, using their money, tricks are not for kids. Let's just say that. Now, the means element of sex trafficking occurs when a trafficker uses force, fraud, or coercion. Coercion in the case of sex trafficking includes a broad array of means, including the forced labor definition. These include threats of serious harm, psychological harm, reputational harm, threats to others, and debt manipulation. And then the purpose is element is a commercial sex act. Sex trafficking can take place in private homes, massage parlors, hotels, or brothels, among other locations, as well as on the internet. I'm gonna need a broader understanding of that. Are they saying as well as on the internet, as far as taking and exchanging of? I'm assuming that they're saying taking and exchanging of videos of activities that are illicit and things of that nature. That's what the best I can come up with. And then child sex trafficking. In cases where an individual engages in any of the specified acts of a child under the age of 18, the means element is irrelevant regardless of whether evidence of force, fraud, or coercion exists. The use of children in commercial acts is prohibited by law in the United States and most countries around the world. Key principles and concepts. These key principles and concepts relate to all forms of trafficking in persons, including forced labor and sex trafficking. Consent. Human trafficking can take place even with the victim initially consents to provide labor services or commercial acts. The analysis is primarily focused on the trafficker's conduct and not that of the victim. The trafficker can target a victim after the victim applies for a job or immigrates to earn a living. The trafficker's exploitation scheme is what matters, not the victim's prior consent or ability to meaningfully consent thereafter. Likewise, in a trafficking case, an adult victim's initial willingness to engage in commercial acts is not relevant, where a perpetrator subsequently uses force, fraud, or coercion to exploit the victim and cause them to continue engaging in the same acts. In the case of child trafficking, the consent of the victim is never relevant, as the child cannot legally consent to intimate acts. Now let's start right here. Where Diddy's getting caught up is the trafficker. It says, hold on, what it says? It say the adult victim's initial willingness to engage in acts is not relevant, where the perpetrator subsequently uses fraud, force, fraud, coercion to exploit the victim. I believe, based upon reading some of the things with the accusations of that Miss Ventura made, that part is what got him there. Because just because you might agree to something early, later on, when she's like, oh, this is crazy, he want to keep doing this, that's where you get. Now we understand how intricate the those charges can be, and how you can get caught up based on any one of a number of those, because they're so broad and they cover a lot of places. Oh, and got another super chat from Sister Poetry, who simply says, peace, family. Thank you, good sister. We appreciate that. And brother, you got oh man. And brother, you got ripped off saying, where are our paralegals at? Yeah, I mean, well, listen. We want to understand, we're not here, y'all know me, I'm not here to sensationalize anything. We're here to understand exactly what the case is and what it could be based upon the actual legal definitions therein. Now that we have that covered, we can move forward. And in fact, I think I'm supposed to stop and make announcements. Okay, so here's the announcement. Last month, because now it's a new month, several of you, I don't know if everybody's here, sent me, if you sent me over $20 last month, please send me an email to my email that should be running across here in a minute, so I can send you the 2019, the email dc.radical_1@protonmail.com, so I can send you the 2019 edited Dr. Khaled Day celebration. That's the first time that I initially did the Africa versus everybody lecture, and I was told by a sister who's not here, she considered it a masterpiece. Now, for anyone who wants to purchase it, just send me an email, and you could just cash out $20 and put lecture. And that one's only $20 because it is about, it's less than 90 minutes. But I've been told it's worth it. Brother, you got ripped off. I don't know if you watched yours yet, but I'm actually in the process of re-editing it and adding the question and answer on the back end of it, as well as adding some additional video inside the lecture itself. But one of the people that seen that edition, they thought it was outstanding. So, right? Oh, my bad. The other announcement, tentatively scheduled for this Wednesday, and I'll let you all know by tomorrow. If not, yeah, you should know by tomorrow. Tentatively scheduled for Wednesday, Brother Irritated Genie will be joining us here on the center. So if you see the notification come up, then you know. But right now we had a discussion that was our tentative date, but I will definitely know later on, because he has something else scheduled earlier that day. So just wanted to let y'all know, be on the lookout for that. And now back to where we were. So now we understand legally what the accusation is. We've seen that we got some people that Mr. Combs is around that, not the most savory of people. And it doesn't look good if you're standing next to those people when the accusations start flying, right? Now, next, let us go to, let's start connecting dots, right? Now, we're going to talk about a person that I had vaguely heard of, but wasn't aware of. And when we talk about this person, you're going to ask me the logical question of, why are you talking about this person? So we're going way back. 2003 says P. Diddy bulking up. LA investor injects millions into Sean John. You're like, okay, so what? Says Sean P. Diddy Combs has a sugar daddy. Now let's stop right here. I didn't write this. I didn't make this up. This article is 20 years old, and that's how they defined it, right? Now it says WWD has learned that Combs has signed a deal with California billionaire Ron Burkle, managing partner of the Ucapa Companies, a private equity firm based in Los Angeles. Industry sources say that Burkle has invested about $100 million in the $325 million at retail Sean John brand, and has agreed to become a partner in the rapid growth of the label. Combs will remain at the helm of the company as chairman and CEO, chief executive officer. Further terms of the new partnership, including Burkle's stake in Sean John, were not disclosed. The deal represents a major fashion step forward for Combs, who becomes the first owner of a major hip-hop inspired label to receive backing from a large investor. It's aimed at turning Sean John into a global billion-dollar brand. Now let's stop right here. The reason I brought that up is because we all know, we've all heard about Clive Davis. We all know that Clive Davis basically saved Puffy's career and helped fund Bad Boy after the falling out with Andre Harrell and being dismissed from Uptown Records. I have stated publicly that I believe that Clive Davis is one of the people that got Sean Combs into some of these unusual activities as a way of becoming part of the club, right? These rituals and these humiliation rituals and these weird sexual things. We just know that's a fact now, right? At the time, they were rumors. A brother that Doggy Diamonds, I believe his YouTube is still Doggy Diamonds. I met that brother personally. He was one of the people that were interviewing rappers and were talking about this stuff long time ago. Okay. First time I saw him talking about it was probably 10 years ago. So we just know that this is what it is. But you're going to ask me, okay, you just brought up some guy that I never heard of, and he gave Diddy $100 million. Well, let's review. Clive Davis puts Diddy on, helps him get his own label, helps fund his label, helps get him to a certain level, right? But Sean Combs has said that he always wanted to be a billionaire. So he goes out, solicits money, gets $100 million from somebody that I don't think he really knew at the time to back him. And let's just be honest. Look, in this world, if someone gives you $100 million, if it ain't your mama, they expect to get more than $100 million back, or something else that they feel is worth $100 million. That's clear, right? Like, there's no dispute or debate about that. Now, next it says, secret of billionaire boys club. Rapper wooed Wall Street elite who praised him as genius before the trafficking probe. So now we get to see how this works. Sean Combs aggressively marketed himself to the ultra rich as he turned his edgy rap glamour into billion-dollar fortune. Billionaires told the Post. He would cold email with business proposals while others Other Wall Streeters acclaimed him as a genius, and one CEO of the New York Stock Exchange called him an inspiration on par with the founding fathers. But after federal investigators raided his Los Angeles and Miami homes as part of what law enforcement sources have told the Post is a sex trafficking investigation led by the Southern District of New York, his career as an entrepreneur and investor is in jeopardy. Diddy has denied wrongdoing and called the probe a witch hunt. Diddy was first declared a billionaire by hip-hop wealth expert Zach O'Malley Greenberg. Now we know the name O'Malley is normally an Irish name, and the name Greenberg is normally, don't say it out loud, just put your hat emojis in the chat. But had coveted, so it says that Diddy had coveted the status for years, telling Forbes in 1999, "I wanted to be rich, very rich." Now, this picture is billionaire Ron Burkle, who gave him that first $100 million. Then it says Diddy teamed up with Burkle again and Mark Wahlberg. What kind of name is Wahlberg? To buy water company Aqua Hydrate. Right? So, says along the way he acquired Rolodex littered with bold-faced names. He partnered with billionaire investor Ron Burkle, was mentored. Hey, we know what the word mentor means, but anyway, by hedge fund guru Ray Dalio. Yeah, I know who that guy is. I used to see him on CNBC. Had his fashion line sold in Macy's and Dillard's, went to business with alcohol giant Diageo, opened the New York Stock Exchange with Estee Lauder, William Lauder, struck deals with Zach Posen and Liz Claiborne, 50% owned his own TV channel, Revolt, launched a water range with Mark Wahlberg. And that Revolt deal, according to Jay-Z's former partner, Dame Dash, that deal cost $100 million. And when he didn't have $100 million at the time, when he went into the deal, and when he went to try to find $100 million, by the time he came back, Diddy had the $100 million because he had got his $100 million from billionaire investor Ron Burkle. Now, if we go and look at the Forbes of Ron Burkle, this is Ron Burkle, founder the Ukapa Companies LLC. He's worth $3 billion. I'm gonna tell you how much money he's worth. When I turned on my computer earlier today, he's worth 2.9. When I turned it on an hour before the show, he was worth $3 million. Literally, his worth went up $100 million in 3 hours. So him giving Diddy $100 million is no skin off his neck. Let's read. It says the son of a grocer, Ron Burkle started working at the market at age 13. He formed investment firm Ukapa in 1986 and bagged big returns buying and selling supermarket chains, Fred Meyer, Jurgensen's, Ralph's, and others. I've never heard of any of those, but anyway. Burkle primarily invests in private companies that support the food trade in areas like logistics, cold storage, and food safety. He has also invested in tech firms including Airbnb, Uber, Foursquare. He had a failed movie production firm, Relativity Media, and he owns the Pittsburgh Penguins. Burkle's most recent scores a swanky hotel chain Soho House, whose parent company Membership Collective Group went public in 2021. Now look at this man's wealth chart. In 2014, he was 2.7 billion, 2.6 billion. Then he went down. Yeah, he must have had a rough year in 2016, down to 1.5, down at 1.5, back up to 2. Struggled again, and then suddenly in 2021, he was at 1.5. He has doubled his net worth in the last 2 years. Now should come the relevant question. Y'all should be saying to me, DC, so what? There's a white dude with a lot of money. and he gave Diddy some money. Who cares? I know. We getting there. And Brother Desaline's like, hey, he looks like a Desaline said he looked like a pedo weirdo. Well, y'all always, Brother Desaline is always at the head of the class, him and Brother Crow. Let's take a look at it. The Jeffrey Epstein court filings. Second batch of court filings related to Predator Jeffrey Epstein were unsealed in New York on Thursday. The release comes a day after the first group of more than 36 court filings were unsealed, making public names of people associated with Epstein, a money manager who accumulated a fortune in excess of $500 million at the time of his death. They say by suicide. I'm just gonna say the time of his apparent death. That's all I'm gonna say. You know, the suicide thing, that's still kind of up in the air, right? It says the new filings Thursday comprised 19 exhibits totaling 327 pages of previously sealed court documents that were docketed in a Manhattan federal court lawsuit filed by Epstein victim Virginia Giuffre against Epstein's procurer Ghislaine Maxwell. That case was settled out of court in 2017. Names mentioned in the new documents include Doug Band, a former aide to ex-president Bill Clinton, Ukapa Company's co-founder Ron Burkle. Now, where have we heard that name Ron Burkle before? Oh yeah, that's right. That's the guy that gave Diddy $100 million 2 different times, which means he gave Diddy $200 million. So the man who has funded Diddy for Revolt and for Sean John has invested $200 million in the man is also connected with Jeffrey Epstein, while Sean Combs has been accused of running a honeypot operation reminiscent of who? Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to give you all time to process that information. So right here, publicly, in documents, we have a one-step connection between Sean P. Diddy, Puff Daddy Combs, and former billionaire financier, sex trafficker, now deceased, Jeffrey Epstein. And that connection is not Clive Davis, who I thought it was, but it is Ron Burkle, billionaire, worth $3 billion. Now, according to the information that I have been able to come by, Mr. Burkle is not publicly a small hat. But I'm just saying, the behavior is hat-like. And the fact that he was able to accumulate so much wealth, and the fact that one of his business partners was Michael Milken, who was convicted of fraud like in the late 80s, early 90s, like a long time ago. That is one of Mr. Burkle's former business partners. So I'm just saying, if your partner was convicted of fraud, your former business partner at one time, either you're a poor judge of character, or you have poor character and just were able to duck out the way of those accusations, right? So I'm just saying, when I saw that, I found that interesting. Now, let's talk about briefly something that we know, but we don't really think about, or at least I didn't really think about. Now, according to various people, including Jaguar Wright, shout out to her, Mr. Combs and Mr. Carter, Sean Carter, allegedly are extremely close. Now, besides music, what else do they have in common? Well, Mr. Carter, we know, had a propensity when he was younger for women who were even younger. Right? Now, I saw the video, but I didn't want to use it, where I believe he said he met Beyonce when she was 16. And then they announced that they were dating, I think, after she turned 18, not too long after her demise. Also, Mr. Carter was friends with Robert Kelly. I know a lot of us forget this, but put a 1 if y'all remember the Best of Both World albums that featured Robert Kelly, who by that time had already publicly married Aaliyah Dana Horton at the age of 15 and had that marriage annulled because she was underage and he had used false documents to marry her. This is a documented fact, right? So, Sean Combs is funded by big financier. He's been accused of various things involving trafficking and underage girls. In addition to that, one of his best buds is Sean Carter. One of Sean Carter's best buds who did an album together, went to tour together, everything, was Robert Kelly. Robert Kelly's in jail for all types of crimes involving children, boys, girls, you name it, right? Does it look like now? Oh, my bad. Hold up. And Sean Carter, as we know, is or has been friends with bro, you got ripped off. Help me out. The weird hat that be doing the spirit cooking and all that. Marina Abramovic. Right? He's friends with her. So we have 3 gentlemen who are part of the music industry who have shown a propensity for engaging in some nefarious activities, many times dealing with underage girls. Foxy Brown was allegedly underage, according to Nasir Jones on that album, right? And in the interview, okay, I'm just saying, sometimes you should leave people alone. You shouldn't rile them up, and if they know you're dirt, because Foxy and Nas was in a group together, so I'm sure she told all the business. You know what I'm saying? So you got Sean, Robert, and Sean, and publicly, Sean Carter and Robert Kelly were boys and did an album together. Actually, and if I'm not mistaken, did 2 albums together and a tour. But some type of way the tour broke up because of the money. Now, here's what I didn't know. And I saw this interview. Dame Dash said that what the last straw in their relationship and the end of Rockefeller was the fact that, as we remember, Dame Dash was dating Aaliyah Dana Horton. Rest in peace to Aaliyah. When Jay-Z started working with Robert, that triggered Aaliyah to start telling Dame the type of stuff that Robert did to her. which she never spoke about. Even though we all knew about it, but she never spoke about it. Dame now this is Dame Dash. You can look at it. I don't know whose platform is on or whatever. He says he goes to his man, Jay-Z, like, yo, son, you piling around with this dude. You know what he did to my girl. What's going on? And basically Jay-Z was like, bro, that's your problem. Now, what I didn't know is, again, shout out to Jaguar Wright. Jay-Z had approached Aaliyah, and Aaliyah turned him down, and then she turned around and started dating Dame. So that's messy all the way around, right? But Dame says that because of that, and because Jay-Z didn't care what he said, he was going to work with Robert anyway, who's one of the biggest people in the industry. And mind you, that album and that tour and all that stuff, that happened after the Aaliyah stuff. And y'all, we got to remember this before the internet, but it happened before the tape where Robert was taped. I don't care what nobody said, that was Robert Kelly, was taped using the bathroom on a 14-year-old girl, right? So in between that time of these two public, not accusations, these public, where we knew publicly that Robert Kelly was a pedophile. This is, again, 30 years ago. And Sister Nate said they were passing Aaliyah around. How in love was Dame really? I can only go by what Dame said, right? Because I wasn't there. And I mean, a lot of people, the whole Aaliyah thing is interesting because a lot of people in the industry, especially a lot of the rappers, looked at her as a little sister, but none of those people were around when the initial abuse took place, because when that happened, most of those people that looked at her like a little sister, like DMX and Nas and all that, they weren't even in the industry. So she was never protected to her, literally from the time she was brought into the industry to her dying day. She was never protected. Because remember, when Robert Kelly first, if I'm not mistaken, when Robert Kelly met her, she was 12. Right? Now, speaking of lyrics, I forgot about this. I can't even remember who told me about it. Shout out to whoever told me about it, because I can't even remember now. But if you go back and listen to Vibe by R. Kelly in the public announcement, where he sounds just like Aaron Hall, he starts naming girls. And if you remember, or no, well, you probably won't remember, but if you listen to the song, right, you go back and listen to the song, he says different women's name, and then he says little Aaliyah's got it. She's got that vibe. When that song came out, this was before Aaliyah's album came out. Aaliyah's album came out when she was 15. When that song came out, Aaliyah was like 13 years old. And he's saying that little Aaliyah's got that vibe. When the show's over, and we're gonna look like we're gonna end probably about 20 minutes or so. When the show's over, look up R. Kelly in the public announcement, listen to Vibe, you're gonna hear it. It creeped me out when I heard it, because I had heard the song, but I didn't really pay attention. But it didn't matter, because I wouldn't have known who Aaliyah was then, because she wasn't even famous yet. And he's putting her into a song. Now, for anyone that gets the 2019 lecture, we discussed in that lecture the fact that Aaliyah's uncle, Barry Hankerson, was R. Kelly's manager, and that's how he got to meet Aaliyah. And Barry Hankerson is friends with Minister Farrakhan. And Minister Farrakhan admits that he told Barry Hankerson to not fire Robert Kelly. And that helped keep, and because he told him that, and Barry Hankerson took that advice, that kept Robert Kelly around Aaliyah for the things that happened to her, in essence, the rest of her life. Again, the documentation and the words of Minister Farrakhan are in the video. I put it all in there. I did it. What? How long ago was that now? I put all that information in there before Robert Kelly was convicted. It was 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Right? So we got, again, going back and rehashing. We got Sean Combs. We got Clive Davis, who we talked about in the previous show. We got billionaire financier Burkle. We got Sean Carter. And we got Robert the Rapist. Now, like I said, if you go back and look at the Sean Carter discussion where he discusses meeting Beyonce, I'm trying to think. I think he was on Charlie Rose show. Look at him, just watch his body language and watch him squirm in that interview. It's real, because he almost talked himself into something. Because Charlie Rose asked him, he was like, "Yeah, so how was she when you first met her and blah blah blah." And he's like, and then he says the age, and then he was like, "Yeah, well, you must have thought she was really good looking or something like that, or what do you think?" And then he was like, "Yeah, I thought she was a really amazing artist," right? So he almost walked Jay-Z into like admitting he's a pedophile, like on air. Right? Now, everyone who saw Brother Jimmy's Pizzagate lecture, and I should have brought a clip from that, but I didn't. Maybe Wednesday, maybe he'll prepare something. He talked about Jay-Z and Marina Abramovic, the spirit cook, who does like simulated, at least publicly, simulates eating people. I mean, this is what she does, and she calls that art. Again, Jay-Z, I don't know if he considers her a mentor. I don't know, but they have an obvious and public relationship that has been documented going back at least, I think, about 10 years, which means if she's Sean Carter's friend, that means she's also Beyonce's friend. I'm sorry to tell the Beyonce fans. So when we hear people talk about Illuminati and rituals, and even though people don't have the details right, the spirit of what people think happens is what happens. And brother, you got ripped off. He has the thank you, brother, for putting up the website to be able to purchase Brother Genie's videos. Again, that Pizzagate lecture is okay. He did that about 7 years ago. Is very instrumental in understanding the things that are going on today and who's in charge of those things. Because again, that exposed, like, really put the whole sex trafficking thing on Front Street. It exposed people like Jay-Z and Rena Abramovich, but it also exposed her connection to Hillary Clinton, which of course exposes the connection to Bill Clinton, which makes the connection to Jeffrey Epstein, which makes the connection to Burkle, which makes the connection to Sean Combs, which brings the connection back around to Sean Carter, and on the outside of that, doing his own thing, is Robert Kelly. So now when we look and we see, as the sister says, that, I'm trying to think what she said, that many in the industry have messed with young girls. Many in the industry have messed with young boys too, because not connected to this thus far. I don't know if anybody's ever seen a video of the young man stating that he engaged in certain activities with Baby in order to receive his contract. You can look that one up. I saw that years ago. So, you know, every time I see that Baby is supposed to be married or messing with what's her name, I just shake my head, because okay, you say so. I guess she's being paid to be a beard. That's how I take it, cause that dude, if you listen to some of his lyrics, he says he likes to smash dudes while they're smashing girls. He said it, I didn't. Tony Braxton, right? And if you ever seen that video of when they're performing and Manny Fresh and Baby and I can't remember, Juvenile, I think, they're up there, and Manny Fresh asks the girls to come up on stage, and then Baby yells out, I need some dudes to come up on stage because he deal with ends too, or something like that. And then a bunch of dudes come up on stage twerking. I'm just saying, as one of my boys say, that's just disgusting behavior. And now, brother, you got ripped off when I act like the dude not from New Orleans. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to throw all the New Orleans under the bus, but I'm just saying, I've seen the video. And he's from New Orleans. I ain't saying that's your man. I'm just saying, not looking good out here. Right. That's what he said. You got ripped off. Said that's what dudes do. That's Baby. You know. So we got Honeycomb, Baby, Robert the Rapist, and Mr. Carter. I'm trying to think now. Let's play connections. Y'all tell you got ripped off. Said I don't even know what to say. Hip hop is looking, yeah, that's it. Yeah, oh man, I think about it. Okay, you got Greek bang booty going back to almost the foundation of hip hop. And what did the Black Spades and some of the other people tell us? They told us, oh, everybody knew he was gay. Well, who was everybody? That I ain't know. You know what I'm saying? And apparently a lot of other people didn't know, else they would have never stepped up into that apartment. So what are we saying here? And then I guess people are going to use the excuse now. Well, everybody knew Robert was a pedophile. Yeah, but nobody did nothing. Nobody did nothing. And the reality of the situation is, the way that those things happen in the music industry are the way that those things happen in our communities. Right? Now, we know Robert was protected. And for a long time, I was wondering, protected by whom? Y'all don't want to know the answer to that, so I just move forward. And when these allegations against Sean Combs came out, I wanted to see one of two things, because to me it's one of two things. It was A, they want to go at him to get to someone else, or he had done something so heinous, or he had information on somebody that was so famous or so powerful and they couldn't afford to be taken down, that the government went to get the evidence to protect that person. I figured it was one of two things. So I figured it was either they went to get the evidence to protect somebody else, or they wanted to put pressure on him so that he would turn a bigger thumb. Now, I have to look up, because I heard something about Clive Davis putting in some paperwork on him, but I don't have documentation of that. So that could just be rumor. But this much I will say. I will be shocked if more dominoes don't fall as part of this investigation. Because let's be honest, even if you're worth quote unquote $1 billion, if your financiers like Mr. Burkle cut off your money, just like we saw with Kanye West when they got mad at him, the valuation of his fortune was literally instantaneously cut in half. And the same thing can happen to Sean Combs. But if they're after someone bigger, then he would just have to turn over that information for them to get that person someone bigger. If they're not after someone bigger, then he's going to have to start rolling over on people who may not be bigger, but who have engaged in crimes worse than what he has engaged in. But either way, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, more dominoes are going to fall in this case. And let's be real, shout out to Cat Williams. What did he say? Something about all truth will be revealed, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, right. Rolling up. Yeah, no, yeah. Pause. On rolling up. So let's do it. Let's do a thing real quick to see if I missed any connections, or if anybody else has any connections tangentially connected to this. Y'all bring them up in the chat. And I saw an interview. I don't know who it was with, but the dude E Ness that was on, I believe he was part of making the band. They asked him, they said, what does it take to what does it take to make it in the industry? Because they basically like, you got talent or whatever, but you never reached the pinnacle of where we think you could make it, right? And he told him, he was like, he just shook his head. He like, man, the cheats. And I just was like, I was gonna lie. I was like, oh my God. that's what I was thinking. And the dude was like, what? And then he explained, he like, these dudes, these sodomites, want to impose themselves on you. They feel like if they can violate a younger man, it enhances their masculinity. Now, if I had remembered where that was, I wouldn't have played that, because he got way more vulgar and explicit than I would get. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'm gonna get to that. Right. Thank you. I'm glad you ain't let me forget it. And so he said that. And so when I thought about it, That is jailhouse mentality, right? This is when I first started hearing about this stuff. Anybody who had homeboys in that got locked up in 80s, early 90s, Straight Black Pride, brother Jarake, brother, be sure to send me an email at dc.radical_1protonmail.com so I can send you a copy of the 2019 Dr. Khaled celebration. Where was I? Lost my train of thought that quick. Oh no, yeah, that's a jailhouse mentality. Anybody that had friends that went to jail during that time, they would tell you dudes were coming out of jail, or if you talk to them while they were still incarcerated, they were look, it was crazy. I remember talking to a brother. He said his homeboy he grew up with, he called him, and he was talking to him, and he was like, "Yeah, man, what's going on?" And he was like, "Man, you know, rough in here, man. I'm just trying to survive, blah blah blah." Then he said, "Hey, yeah," and then he was like, "Yo, they moved this new dude to my cell," and he said the dude was Caucasian. And then this when he told his man that this is man he grew up with, he said, "Yeah, you know, I wrestled him a couple of times, but I ain't got to him yet. But I'm gonna break him down. And I'm gonna get to him. I ain't gotta explain to y'all what get to him mean." And he said he was looking at the phone like, "Yo, who am I talking to?" My point is that mentality of imposing yourself on another man and then claiming that it was not homosexual activity because you were the one, no homo, delivering the blows. That's a horrible way to describe it. Y'all know what I mean. Can't even talk about this stuff without feeling like you need to take a shower. Anyway, you were, y'all know what I mean, in the dominant position in that situation. How about that? So they felt like they were not homosexual, or because it happened in jail, they were not homosexual. Well, people like Mr. Combs brought that, even though he wasn't incarcerated, that same mentality of dominating another man and feeling like it enhances your masculinity. He engaged in that. Now, Brother Genie has broken down in lecture form how that is a European psychological, a European psychocultural phenomenon. If going all the way back to Greco-Roman times, where you have that type of mentality going all the way back to the mentors and the gymnasiums and the dentistry and all that stuff, where in Greco-Roman times a grown man would engage in act with the adolescent male. This type of behavior, where allegedly Mr. Combs was caught being serviced by Christopher Williams, the singer, and then went on to say that that's power, to be able to get a man to submit himself, right? So even though we see Negro males engaging in this type of debauchery within this industry, the psychology of it is still European, right? So brother, that sounds horrible too. A straight black side, yeah, that sounds terrible too. Yeah, can't even put that on the screen. Yeah, we can't even talk about this stuff without getting into some type of debauchery, some kind of way. So, though we'll at this point, if we look at those three, like the three legs of a stool, one is down. The email it'll be coming across the screen in a second, brother. The one is down. That's Robert. Sean is on the ropes. And Sean Carter, it has disappeared and probably won't hear. So there's an email, brother, dc.radical_1@protonmail.com. But there are going to be more people that we're going to see more. That's what I'm looking for. There's going to be more, not blowback. What's the word I'm looking for? We're going to see more people as this investigation goes up. And I suspect that if Diddy has a chance to roll over, pause on other people or to expose other people because he got the documentation, he is going to implicate other people, and other people are going to pause again, go down. Right? So this is the beginning of this sick and perverted story. But what I wanted to do is I just wanted to show, because we've all have been focused on the Negroes, as we should. And let me say this too, because I forgot to say this. Well, first of all, bro, you got ripped off. Let me start with that. Let us not forget that Sean Combs had a manservant named Farnsworth Bentley that was running around holding an umbrella over his head and looking extremely effeminate. I'm just saying, no, look, in the 90s, forward, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, nobody has a manservant unless that manservant is that manservant, if you understand what I'm saying. What they used to call back in the day, when I was a teenager, then I didn't know how disgusting this was when people would say it, because I didn't get it. I was too young. I don't know if anybody else, but in DC, if two dudes was too close or they seem to be too friendly, people would be like, "Oh man, what's that? That's your butt boy." See, those was fighting words, and I didn't even know what it meant, but it was still fighting words because it sounded inappropriate. You know what I'm saying? It sounded like, yeah, I need to swing on him. I don't know why, but I need to swing on him. So Farnsworth Bentley was running around being Diddy's butt boy back in the, whenever that was, early 2010s. I wonder what he has to say about this whole thing, if he can be found. That's all I'm gonna say. Just go back and look at that. Watch that video. Watch videos of this dude walking around with it. Come on, man. Nobody does that, man. No straight man has no. Come on, man. Straight men don't do that. That's all I'm gonna say on the issue. Let's see. Brother said we need an OTW2.com radical thought on this. Yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. So I can add some. I can do it uncensored. I can add the music and stuff like that too. Remind me of that, brother. And the sister says, may have been his time is up. Urugu doesn't like to see people have it too long, especially since many of them are going down. No, I do not remember he wrote on adrenochrome. I do not know that. So, sister, after the show, send me that, because I do not remember that. If he wrote on that at the time where the Pizzagate thing was going on, yeah, that might have been it. That might have been where they decided that his services were no longer needed. But I suspect that the mass amount of data that he has accumulated over time, that he's going to use that to his advantage to lessen the blow of any sentence that he may receive. You can't talk about this stuff without going off the rails. But yeah, brothers and sisters, I just wanted to show that all of these things are connected, and they're connected through non-Africans, non-black people, whites, and small hats to put people, first of all, put people in place that are popular amongst us, that somehow people worship, and then have them in compromising positions or have them do despicable things and to spread that type of spirit amongst our people. And going back to, like I said, R. Kelly with Vibe and Aaron Hall with Don't Be Afraid. And let's be honest, KRS-One with 13 and Good. We've been injected with a spirit of pedophilia and other disgusting stuff for 30 years without even realizing it, being completely honest. Biggie, again, let's not forget, Biggie did that. When Biggie did that wrong, was he was with Sean on Sean Combs' label, right? I'm not saying the album came up on Sean Combs' label, but he helped produce that song. So he listened to the song. He did the chorus, if I'm not mistaken. He didn't have no problem with it. Biggie is talking about violating children and what's his name? Eminem, and talking about all types of demonic stuff. Like the list of what he was talking about was so long that, listen. And Sean Combs was in the studio bobbing his head and like, yeah, that's right. It's gonna be a hit. So this stuff been going on right, get right under our noses, but it's been going on right through our ears. And now it's all coming to the forefront. And you got ripped off. You said DMX? Wow. Yeah, I don't remember that, but wow. Yeah, that's absolutely disgusting. I don't have any DMX albums to throw away, but that's just disgusting. Oh yeah, that's just another example of the savage, barbaric, sadistic, demonic filth and corruption that we've been subjected to for 30 years, and then we look at our children and wonder why they're crazy. When we probably been pumping that stuff through our house for 30 years and not even thinking about it. So, brothers and sisters, the psychological warfare against black people continues. And we got a lot of black people that's on the opposite side fighting against us. So I'm just going to close this one out. More than likely, we're going to end up talking about this some more. More than likely, some more dominoes are going to fall. More than likely, some more people are going to be exposed. And more than likely, myself or Brother Genie and Straight Black Friday are going to be like, I told you so. I don't even know. This thing goes so far, it's so deep. It's probably easier to find people who are in the music industry, who aren't involved in it. It's probably easier to count up those people because it's probably so much fewer than those that are involved in it. So, again, brothers and sisters, and brother, you got ripped off. Said it's time to pass the connection plate. Yeah, if you get a chance, you can cash at me at $DC Radical 1. And again, the email is dc.radical_1. You can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Threads at dc.radical1, of course here on YouTube at DC Radical 1, at Twitter at DC Radical _ONE, and at OTW2 at DC Radical 1. And Sister Poetry says, shaking my head, they are all in cahoots. My cousin used to go to industry parties, came home one day and told us Big and Puff came out of the back room sweating with no shirt on back in the 90s. You know, that's a disgusting thought, and I don't want to end it that way. because that's absolutely disgusting. And I believe every word that your cousin said. I just be completely honest. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like to think of Christopher Wallace that way, but if your homeboy is that way, it ain't looking too good, man. But again, you can follow me at dc.radical1 Twitter at dcradical_one. The OTW tube is DC Radical 1. You can donate via Cashapp at $DC Radical 1. This is the YouTube, capital D, small c, Radical 1. And the email is dc.radical_1 at protonmail.com. I thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Help us get up over 1,000 subscribers so we can be fully part of the YouTube partner program. Thank you, brothers and sisters. Stay strong, stay black, and stay away from weirdos. With that, I say a BB for ODA and straight black pride.